How you doing? I'm Sean McVeigh with Sean's Outdoor Adventures. Today's review is at Palo Outdoors in Palo, Iowa. I want to give a very special thanks to the people here at Palo for assisting me in reviewing. They have a large selection of bows. If you're in the area, make sure you pop in, check out some of the bows, tell them I sent you, and let's get into this particular bow. So now I'm going to shoot the PSE Evoke. A couple things I've noticed about the PSE for this year, the Evoke versus the Evolve, is it looks like you have a longer riser and shorter limbs. And the limbs are a little bit more, they're not parallel totally, but they're a little bit more toward parallel, whereas the Evolve the Evolve limb came up more. And I was surprised when I saw PSE come out with that limb because, you know, even in theory, the more upright the limb is, the more the bow is going to be able to jump forward, so you get more kind of jumpiness and vibration with the shot. So I am expecting this to have a little less jumpiness than, say, the Evolve. This particular one is a 65-pound limb, so I'm going to have to shoot it at 65 pounds. It's the only one they have in. The draw length came in at 29 7/8, so it's just a hair under 30. I've been trying to shoot them 70 pounds and 30-inch draw, but I'm going to shoot a 325 grain arrow at the 65-pound limb. And I'm going to give my back wall ratings, and I've said this in other videos. These ratings are not to say one number is better than a number. So 10 out of 10 doesn't mean the best. I'm just trying to give you a gauge of how the back wall behaves. So if I pull it into the back wall, for how solid the back wall is, the rating for that. If I can't move it at all, if it's rock solid, I give it a 10 out of 10. If I can move it a little bit, I give it a 7 out of 10. If I can move it a lot, if it's real mushy, I give it a 5 out of 10. Now some people have a preference for the back wall on how solid it is. So that's why I'm giving you those three differences. Now when you have to let down, that's a separate rating. So if it's so hard to let down, you have to feel like I'm pushing my hand forward, then I give it a 10 out of 10. I kind of don't like that because in a hunting situation, you don't want it to be awkward letting down to where you're like jolting when it finally goes. Where you're easing up on your muscles and it starts to come down, I give that 8 out of 10. If it really wants to come forward on its own real quickly, I give that a 5 out of 10. So let's do the back wall rating here. So it's fairly solid, but I can move it a little bit, so I would give that the 8 out of 10. As far as letting down, PSCs typically have like the 95% let off, which this one seems to have that on. And I had to really ease up until it finally went on me there. So that would be like a 10 out of 10 as far as coming down off the back wall. I'm going to go ahead and shoot it through the chronograph and take a decibel meter reading. All right, I'm just going to interject the data here real quick. I'm seeing as I'm doing this, I never logged in the peak draw weight, but down on my draw curve data, it looks like the peak weight came in at 65.9 pounds. So essentially 66-pound draw weight. It was a 65-pound limb. That's all they had in stock. But our average speed was 331 feet per second, and the noise was 80.7 decibels. PSCs typically run a little louder than some of the other bows. I just actually, right before shooting this bow, I did the Matthews Traverse, and that was more like 76 point something decibels. So, you know, quite noticeably quieter. But the Evoke still, out of the PSCs I've shot in recent years, I'd say this is probably my favorite PSC that I have shot in recent years. So let's go back over to Palo Outdoors for my final synopsis. Oh, I will point out here what I already said is I gave it the 8 out of 10 for how solid the back wall is and a 10 out of 10 for how easy it comes off of the back wall. It really does not come down off the back wall easily at all when it's at the 95% let off setting. So let's head back over to Palo Outdoors for some final input. So comparing the Evoke to the Evolve, it is a lot calmer in your hand, a lot less jumpy and a lot less vibration, which is something I prefer. I like one that doesn't have, now the vibration and everything isn't really going to impact your shooting. It's just more of a feel thing, and a lot of us, we like a little bit of a, you know, a bow that doesn't feel like it's vibrating our hand off. So the Evoke, there's definite clear improvement. I have enjoyed I think the Evolve cam is a good cam as far as it's fairly smooth and does deliver a good bit of speed. It does have an interesting draw cycle. It kind of peaks and then almost still has a little hump in the middle of the draw curve and then comes back up. But all in all, I'd say the Evoke is definitely worth taking a look at if you're someone who's enjoyed PSEs in the past. Looks like they give you multiple options for mounting your sight as far as how high up it is. And some people really need that adjustability to get their sight to work right so it's not bottoming out or topping out. So that's pretty nice. They have a decent roller system here with the roller wheels. So that's, I think, pretty good for PSE. You do have to watch, like I did have an Evolve, and sometimes these little rubberized pieces would come out on it for me. It feels fairly similar, so you'd probably still have to keep an eye on that as far as, you know, making sure they're not coming out on you or sliding around. The finish of the bow, it has a better feel to it than the Evolve of a couple years ago, like as far as the paint finish. The Evolve that I had did scratch very easily, so you might, I don't know how scratchy this is, how scratch resistant it is, but you know, you just definitely keep an eye out on that. It does have the expanded riser to give rigidity, which you'll see that on a lot of these longer, you know, the risers that are longer, they need a little something extra to help them stay rigid. So it does have that. So all in all, I do think it's a nice bow. This is probably one of the nicest PSE bows I've shot in quite a while. So if you're somebody who's enjoyed PSE, give this one a try, because I think this one does have some nice elements to it that are a step up from even like the Evolve of a couple years ago. So that's all for this video. I hope you've been watching the series. I am going to be doing a bow giveaway in the not too distant future, probably more of like an entry-level bow when I get to my next, you know, milestone, whether it's 75,000 subscribers or 100,000. So if that's something that's interesting to you, you know, make sure you subscribe and stay tuned to my channel so you can learn about that. But until next time, take care and God bless.